What's up, everyone? This is the Osmo.com MLB Strategy Show. It is a Monday, so I'm Jake Hari alongside Adam Ship My Money Share. Adam, how are you doing? Looks like an eventful end of the weekend, at least. How was the rest of it?
Yeah, it was pretty good. Got my first weekend in Baltimore, so that was nice. Had a good time. DFS was okay. What about you?
Yeah, it was good. Watched some NHL last night. Didn't make any money, but it was pretty good overall. So we've got a sizable 9-game slate. It feels like we haven't had one of these in a while on a Monday. When me and you have been doing the show, it seems like it's been a lot of short slates. So I'm excited to talk about this 9-gamer. DraftKings has some really soft pricing. Real quick, do you like the softer pricing? Like when you see some of these pitchers priced way down, like Musgrove and Tanaka sales still too cheap. Do you like that, or do you prefer like the tighter pricing?
I prefer the tighter pricing. I think it just makes it easier for other people to make mistakes. Though the one thing that I guess is kind of nice about the softer pricing is if you're playing lower stake stuff, people still make mistakes. Like Jacob deGrom the other day was still only like 40% owned. Sale, I'm sure, won't be as popular as he really should be based on the numbers here. But in general, I'd prefer, not being able to roster like any player that you want in any lineup.
Yeah, I think it more maybe lends itself to GPP and a contrarian strategy because you can mix in those really good value plays that aren't going to be as owned as they should be. But have you seen ownership today at all?
I have not.
Okay, so we just updated, and Sale is under 40% right now. And then you want to take a guess at who the next highest owned pitcher is?
Darvish?
It is not Darvish. It is another guy right in his price range, though. A guy
Oh,
that,
Walker.
yeah,
Yeah.
Michael Wacha at almost 30% right now. So that should be a fun one to talk about. Yeah, we'll get there. But one thing I wanted to look at just on lineup study real quick is there was some talk about live finals and just if people are going to play them, should they play them in the premium Slack? And I saw you tweeted about them. The FanDuel one specifically, you can't look at the FanDuel one on lineup study because they don't allow you to, but I do have a couple of the DraftKings ones, the last two actually, and you see a familiar name. Papa Gates took down. I think this was the Friday one. Do you have any strong takes about qualifiers at all?
Just that, I mean, be careful, like know what you're getting into because they the qualifiers certainly drain your bankroll unless you just run really good at the beginning. I think that it really depends on like what your goals are in DFS and your bankroll, what you're looking to do. Some people completely swear them off and say people shouldn't play them, but if your goal is to go to a live final or whatever, like you should obviously be playing them if that's your goal. But if your goal is just to like grind out a steady profit, then that's not really the best way to do it.
Yeah, I think it's always nice. It's always nice to do it at least once. Like,
Yeah.
if you run good, like you said, it's going to be super fun. You're probably going to make some money if you bank it pretty early. But if that's like your only goal, could be a pretty long season if you're just trying to queue, unless you have the bankroll to withstand that. But you've been to a handful, right?
Yeah,
I think it was NBA last year.
Yeah, I've been to 3 separate ones. I've had, I guess, 5 entries.
Okay. And they haven't gone great, you were saying?
Yeah, I mean, just kind of middle of the pack. And well, the first one I went to was like the Playboy one. I think I finished like third from last. But then in the rest of them, I've kind of just had like middling results. So, I mean, they're a good time regardless. Like I highly recommend going if you have if you like get the opportunity. But
Yeah.
I've been on both ends of it. Where like in the most recent one that I qualified for, the basketball one, I didn't really try, and I just like max entered a qualifier on the last day because I was going in someone's place anyway. And I was like, well, if I'm going to be there, I'd rather have like my own team. And I happened to win it, so it was just like pure profit. But back in like 2016, I forced myself into like a huge downswing because I just poured like $40,000-$50,000 in the qualifiers and didn't qualify. So,
Yeah.
I've been on both ends of it, and it's just something that you want to, pay attention to how much money you're actually putting into it.
Yeah, exactly. Just like you said, it just depends on what your goals are in DFS because they can really drain your bank real quick. It also can be really fun if you do qualify for a number of reasons. The experience, I haven't really heard bad things outside of maybe one experience on a certain site But yeah, everything has been positive. The one I went to was super positive as well. So yeah, I just saw some people talking about it and looking at the lineups. Like, so we talk about how much of a bankroll killer it could be if you look at both of these cues. The only person that profited here in the Friday one was Papa Gates, profited $44,300. Everyone else lost money, of course, up to $1,700 with the 10 max. On the Sunday one, yesterday, more of the same. The winner won 45 grand. Second, looks like there was one other person that profited $450, and then everyone else in the tournament lost money. So that's just a little bit of a visual as to how tough it is to win these contests, especially when you look at who you're playing against. You're playing against Awesome. You're playing against Chipotle Addict, Jeff, your friend Jeff El Jefe, Mr. Good Seeds, Pop. Like, it's just so many good names in these. So, yeah, they're super fun, but just be aware of what you're doing if you do decide to go after one of those. All right. We are, of course, presented by Yahoo, though. There is another rake-free tournament over there for today. Looks like there's actually quite a few spots left open. 700 spots left, 2K in total, 1.3K are filled. $3 entry fee, 10 entry max. The total prize pool is $6,000. I think it's probably still $600 to first. So get in that if you have not already. 0% management fee. You're not going to find a better place to play, a better tournament to play. And then, of course, they've also got a ton of other tournaments on the site. So obviously less rake, less sharks you're playing against. You can't play against 150 lineups. The max is 10, no CSV edit. So you're going to have to hand build or at least input all your lineups by hand. You can still use Fantasy Cruncher. That's what Josh and I have been doing when we have been playing on Yahoo. All right, let's pull up the lineups page here. Of course, we've got the Osmo.com MLB lineups page. I'll post this link in chat. You can use this for free. There's obviously a premium version with the ownership projections and the rankings, and then you'll get a GPA if you have the premium package. Promo code MLB DFS strategy. But use that link as a lineups page. These get updated as the lineups get updated. All right. Now that is all out of the way, we can talk about the games. We'll start with Arizona and Philadelphia. We've got Taylor Clark going up against Jared Eichhoff. Clark at 6,300, Eichhoff 7,100, 4.4 implied total for the D-backs, 5.2 for the Phillies. Are you interested in either of these pitchers to start it off, Adam?
Yeah, I have some interest in Eichhoff. In my initial crunch on DraftKings, I just ran like 5-2 stacks, and I got about 20% Eichhoff, which I think is fine. He's not a bad pitcher. He's not great. He certainly has his flaws. In particular, left-handed power can get to him, but it's not a really bad matchup for him here. You know, you look at the Arizona lineup, and the left-handed power they have is basically Eduardo Escobar and David Peralta. Ketel Marte has some power too. Jared Dyson really has none. And then outside of that, you're probably just getting a right-handed lineup. He's cheap enough where he can give up a home run or two as long as, you know, it's not a 3-run shot or a grand slam or something. He struck out about 24% of righties. He's affordably priced. I don't have any issue with Eichhoff. He's not like my highest owned pitcher or anything like that.
Yeah, I think he's going to be in the mix for me. I mean, I'd much prefer Eichhoff over Taylor Clark, really across the board. I don't really have anything going for Clark that I'm seeing. Is there anything good you can say about him in this matchup?
No, I think he's pretty bad. His minor league numbers aren't great. Major league numbers haven't been there. It's not like it's a good matchup against Philly. It's a park that plays up power. I think it's a really dangerous spot for him. Bryce Harper, in particular, another guy that is just priced completely incorrectly, really has been struggling with, you know, fastballs up in the zone and sliders this year. Clark doesn't throw a slider. His fastball has been absolutely blasted by left-handed hitters, so it's not a pitch that I expect him to be able to take advantage of Harper. So, you know, Harper and Bruce, the two power lefties in this lineup, but Harper really, really affordable.
Yeah, on Yahoo, Harper $18, Segura $12, Hoskins $12, Real Muto $16. The only guy that's super priced up on Yahoo is Jay Bruce at $24. So he's worth double Rhys Hoskins. Kind of crazy. But Yahoo has been reacting quickly to guys that have been going on hot streaks. So that's where you're seeing Bruce at an increased price over there. And, of course, the dynamic pricing on DraftKings gets you Bruce at $5,500 in the the 6-hole he's projected to hit. So, are you interested in the Phillies stack? I know you mentioned Harper, but do you like the stack as a whole?
Yeah, I have some interest there just because I don't think Clark's particularly good. In my initial crunch, I didn't get a ton of Philly 5-mans. They came in as like it looks like 8th or 9th highest stack. And again, that's just I haven't adjusted anything, but just seeing where my initial projections are at. I think that they have upside, but there's a Coors game. There's some other good spots to get to as well.
Yeah. And then on the other side, for hitters for Arizona, anyone you want to mention before we move on here?
Peralta in particular is the one that stands out. He's affordably priced. You're looking at like DraftKings, Escobar's 5,300 compared to 4,600 for Peralta. He's a good hitter. He's left-handed. He has power. He's 19 on Yahoo, which is reasonable. If you compare him to Harper or some other hitters we'll get to, he's not a primary play. But as far as just a guy that has a good chance to hit a home run here, I think that Peralta's the one that stands out.
I like it. I think I agree on all fronts there. This one, real quick, possibly some weather concerns. There are a couple games that are like that today. Nothing super concerning right now, but obviously keep an eye out for the postponement risk spot in the Awesemo.com premium projections. Those are what I do to see if there's any risk, because if Alex is assuming there's risk or treating a game differently because of the weather, then I should probably be doing the same. All right, let's go to the Subway Series, they call it. The New York Mets and the New York Yankees. We've got a 4 implied total for the Mets, 5.6 for the Yankees. Jason Vargas going up against Masahiro Tanaka. Both these guys are priced within $300 of each other. I have a feeling that one's going to be more heavily targeted than the other. But what are you doing with Vargas here? 7,600 going into Yankee Stadium, coming off a complete game shutout with 8 strikeouts.
I'm still not going to Vargas here. I just still have trouble seeing any reason that he keeps this up. I mean, he against righties and lefties both, he struck out about 19%. So it's not like you're getting high strikeouts against one side of the plate and not the other. He's allowed a 203 expected ISO to righties, 177 to lefties. He hasn't been bad, 299 xWOBA to lefties, 339 to righties, but he hasn't been good either. And this is a really dangerous matchup against a lot of right-handed power for the Yankees. And it's not like you're getting a discount on Vargas, and then you're also getting substantial discounts on several other pitchers today. So really just no way for me to get to Vargas here.
Yeah, I'm absolutely not going to get to Vargas. I mean, huge implied total against him in a good hitter's park. This one, another one that has some possible weather concerns. We'll update closer to lock. But yeah, I just looking at Vargas's like under the hood stuff. You look at his results, his last couple games have been great. Just not allowing a lot of runs, getting some strikeouts, but he has a 6.2, 5.1, and 8.6% swinging strike rate in his last 3 starts. He's getting a few more chases than earlier in the season, it looks like. But is there any, like you just mentioned, there's not really anything that would suggest he's going to keep this up, right?
Yeah, I haven't found anything that makes me think that Vargas is more than like a mediocre pitcher.
Okay. So that being said, are you looking at Yankees bats and then Tanaka at 7,900? That looks like a guy that's pretty underpriced.
Yeah, the Yankees came in as a top 5 stack for me. Sanchez's price has come down a bit, which is nice. Obviously, anytime you can get to him at catcher, it's nice. Luke Voigt's price tag is really affordable. Aaron Hicks is cheap. The Yankees are just pretty clearly underpriced. And I think that's one reason that, even though I liked the Phillies, I didn't get to them much in my initial crunch, is the Yankees are just a cheaper stack. And you get so much power here. Even guys like Clint Frazier toward the bottom of the order probably won't have much ownership because he'll be hitting like 7th or 8th. But he's got a lot of power from the right side. He's affordable. Didi Gregorius is less than 4K hitting in Yankee Stadium. It's lefty-lefty, but Vargas isn't lights out against lefties. And Didi just benefits so much from the short porch and right at Yankee Stadium. It's just a really, really affordable lineup for the Yankees.
I was just looking at the standings while you're talking, just because the Yankees have had this like quote unquote watered down lineup for like basically all the season. No Stanton, no Judge. Do you know what their record is? Do you know like where they rank in the American League?
I have no idea. I have no idea.
They have the tied for the 3rd best record. They're tied for the division lead in the AL East. Like,
is that with Tampa or with Boston?
With Tampa. Boston is 7 games back from them. that's just kind of crazy because I never look at the standings. I never know how these teams are doing. I'm just seeing if my accounts go up in balance or down.
Yeah, exactly.
Usually. But it's just crazy. Like, you don't even think of the actual real baseball side of it, and it's just based on like player outcomes and stuff. But yeah, I have no clue. Like, I didn't know the Royals' record was this bad. I didn't know the Yankees were this good. Like, I'm sure I'll do that like 20 more times throughout the season. But first time checking the standings, June 10th, 2 months into the season.
Yeah.
All right, so Tanaka at 7,900 going up against the Mets is a guy I'm going to have a ton of. I saw Josh write him up in the Spotlight Pitchers. I pretty much agree with what he said there. If you can't get to Sale, he's a nice mid-tier option on DraftKings. On Yahoo, Tanaka is priced at $38. I think that's viable as well. And basically just no Vargas. Like, I just can't get anywhere near him on a slate like today where everyone's priced up. Unless you're just going pure pivot off of someone like Wacha on Yahoo. If Waka's going to be popular over there at 32, Vargas is 33. But still, like, I just don't see the strikeout upside. And a team that, yeah, they might have a watered-down lineup, but they're still hitting lefties really well, and it is Yankee Stadium here. So, huge implied total. No Vargas for me. Yankees going to be one of the top stacks, if not the best stack on the slate. Especially from a value perspective, I would imagine they're going to be right up there as one of the better teams when the top stack tool comes out. Anything else here before we move on?
No, I don't think so. I was kind of surprised how little Tanaka I got in my initial crunch, but it's probably just because I crunched DraftKings and they have like that tier of 6K guys, and then they have Chris Sale, who obviously I'm going to get into in a ton of lineups. So I think that kind of just leaves the mid range out a little bit. Tanaka's strikeout numbers also down this year from previous years. There are some good indications. Recent starts, his chase percentage has been back to elite levels where we expect him to be. Swinging strike percentage still isn't where it normally is for him, but it's perfectly fine matchup. So I was just a little bit surprised that I didn't get more than I did.
Yeah, I wonder where he's going to project out, because if you use his last year's numbers, he's going to just be a super, super obvious value at under 8K on DraftKings. But if you start to use the numbers from early this season, he might not grade out as quite a perfect value, but I still think he's going to be up there looking at the rest of this pricing on the slate.
I think he's underpriced. It's just it comes down to a roster construction thing, because for me, Chris Sale is absolutely a priority, and then it's just easier to get you Darvish or whoever your favorite 6K guy is over an 8K guy.
All right, I like it. Let's go to the Cardinals and the Marlins. Michael Wacha going up against Sandy Alcantara. Or wait, no, we decided on Alcantara, right?
Yeah, Alcantara. Everyone except Josh decided on Alcantara.
Okay. Just sounds like you're speeding through it. You're not giving it the Latin flair that the name deserves. But anyways, Wacha and the Cardinals 4.4 implied total. Alcantara and the Marlins 3.7. We're gonna see some Michael Wacha chalk at 6K here. Is that something you want any part of?
I do not. So I think he's a good point per dollar option. I mean, he's facing the Marlins. He's really cheap, but he's going to have ownership, and there's a lot of pitchers around him that are, they're not facing the Marlins, obviously, but they're just much more talented pitchers. He hasn't been good in a while. This year he's been really bad. Since the start of last season, he struck out 19.6% of righties. He's allowed a 380 expected WOBA to them with a 214 expected ISO, 226 actual ISO. That's on over 1,200 pitches to right-handed hitters. The Marlins obviously don't have the most power, and it's a good park for pitchers, but Wacha's just not good, and I don't want to roster him at high ownership. When I could just go to a handful of other guys that are better pitchers or have better strikeout stuff. If he goes out there and gets you 13, 14 points, it's fine for his price tag, but it's not helping you win a tournament, especially when 30% of the field has him. It's just, it's a guy that didn't kill you, but I'd rather take some chances on lower owned guys in that price range.
Yeah, I was going to say, this is one where we talk about like median outcomes versus target score. Like if he's 6K and he gets you 18 or 20, like that's huge. That might be a GPP winning score. I just don't know how often he reaches that really against anyone. He's just been downright terrible. And he's like even got sent to the bullpen his last two outings. He pitched, let's see, 6 days ago. I think he went 2 1/3. Yeah, 2 1/3. The outing before that, his first bullpen outing, gave up 6 runs in 1 inning of work with 3 homers. He's given up a home run. He gave up a home run in each of the 4 outings prior to that as well. He hasn't gone over 86 pitches since May 22nd, I believe it was. So there's also a concern about how far he can even go in this game. 86. So May 22nd, what is that? 20 days ago, almost 3 weeks that Wacha hasn't pitched a starter's workload. So there's another concern for him. I don't know. If he's going to be the second chalkiest pitcher on the slate, I don't think there's any way I get to the field on him. The question is, do you go to Marlins bats though? Like, do you need to leverage that spot?
It's so one more thought on Wacha. I think that if I were playing like 50-50s, I'd probably lean towards him as my SP2 just because of his ownership. But if I'm playing like head-to-heads or 3-mans, I think even there's enough of a benefit to being contrarian that I could pivot to one of the guys around him. And then in tournaments, I fully expect to be underweight on Wacha and overweight on everyone else around them. And as far as the Miami bats, it's tough because, obviously it's not a good park for power and there's not a lot of power in this lineup, but it would be really nice to leverage against Wacha. The issue is just that with pricing being as soft as it is today, it's kind of unnecessary, and you're like painting yourself into a corner where Miami has to be one of the highest scoring teams on the slate because they're not really getting you a whole lot else in your lineup. It's one thing when Miami is giving you access to like 2 aces that you can't get with like any other team, but there's just that's not really how this slate breaks down. Like, I don't feel like I need to force Chris Sale plus Charlie Morton into my lineup or anything like that. So I don't know how useful Miami actually is.
Yeah, like if this were a slate, like I think it was yesterday where you had a ton of aces. You had 10.2 Shane Bieber, 10.6 Robbie Ray. You had Odorizzi, who was priced up. You had I think Blake Snell was on the slate somewhere. Or no,
Yep.
Erod was on it. Oh yeah, Blake Snell was.
Snell was too. Yeah.
Yeah. Nola, you had like all these guys were priced up 8,500. Sonny Gray. So like that might be a slate where you get to the Marlins because you're getting leverage off the chalk and you need those extra value bats. But yeah, I think I agree with you. Like, you just don't really need a Marlins stack. Maybe if you get Curtis Granderson for 3,400, or you pick Brian Anderson or one of these cheap bats, maybe you get some added leverage in there. But I don't think I'm interested in a Marlins stack, even though I'm not really interested in playing a lot of chalk Michael Wacha either.
Yeah, exactly. Like if you just kind of step back and think through roster construction, like if you full stack Miami, you have all this money left over, which is cool. Like you can get, whatever you want everywhere else. But basically you're trying to, there's going to be a lot of teams that have like Chris Sale plus one of the cheap pitchers, and at least one of the cheap pitchers is probably going to have a good game. So then you're basically just playing Miami versus whatever better stack that person got with their cheap pitcher.
Exactly. Alcantara, 6,900 versus the Cardinals. Let's see. I didn't see his ownership on first look. Sandy. He is at mid-teens. Does that interest you at all versus the Cardinals here?
Not really. I just think that he's more expensive than Wacha. He's more expensive than Gausman, Musgrove, Darvish. He's almost the same price as Eichhoff. He's not that much less expensive than Tanaka. I don't really see myself getting to him that much. I think he's a decent pitcher. It's a good park, but St. Louis is a good offense. And, against righties this year, he struck out about 20%. He hasn't given up much power. I think that he'll be a good pitcher going forward, but it's just not a slate where I really feel like I need to get to him.
I think I agree with you. Kind of off this game overall, just hoping it stays quiet. And there aren't a ton of strikeouts either way. There's not a ton of home runs. At least that's how I'm treating it right now. Obviously, could change if some of these games look dicey in a few hours. But right now, assuming we have 9 games, I think there are better spots pretty much across the board. Rangers and Red Sox, we have, let's see, who's this pitcher going? Oh, yeah, it's Mike Minor going up against Chris Sale, cheap Chris Sale. 3.1 implied total for the Rangers. 4.9 for the Red Sox. This is another one. Looks like there's some weather issues on the East Coast, so timing's going to play a big role in this. But we've got Chris Sale. Assuming this game goes, I know where you're at, but just tell people kind of where you're at on Sale and his price here.
Yeah, just clear number one pitching option for me. No question about it. He's easily the best pitcher on the slate. He has, for the season, he struck out about 35% of hitters. And if you take away those first 4 starts where whatever was wrong with him, and he was getting no swings and misses on stuff, his strikeout percentage is up over 40%. He's just been absolutely amazing. And now he's facing a Texas team that isn't particularly good against left-handed pitching. They have plenty of strikeouts in their lineup. Their active roster since the start of last season has the 10th highest strikeout percentage against left-handed pitching at 22.7%. They have a 75 WRC plus, 289 WOBA, well below average. They're getting out of Texas. Boston still plays up right-handed power, but it's not as favorable as Texas is. So a lot working in Sale's favor. And, obviously he'll be popular. I expect him to be the highest owned pitcher on the slate, regardless of site. But there are enough different ways to be contrarian on the slate that I don't feel like I need to be getting away from Chris Sale. In my initial crunch, I had him capped at 42%. He hit that. And once, I crunch more lineups than I need. So once I start ranking lineups and deciding what to play in tournaments, I fully expect to have somewhere between 80 and 100% Chris Sale today.
Is there an ownership where he would you would be forced to think about getting off of him, or you just take the basically free square because not only you're not worried about him hitting value here, he gets you 24, 25 more often than not, so you're going to be able to find value bats that go off elsewhere. Is there a way you get off of him here at all based on any ownership you see?
No, because and it has to do with the pricing of other guys on the slate too. It would be one thing if the pricing were sharper and you were really making sacrifices, but if you roster Sale with any of those 6K guys, whichever one you like the most, you're still spending like $17,000 a pitcher, which means you still have all the money in the world to spend on hitters. If you're getting off of Sale here, you're basically banking, you need him to have a bad game or get hurt or something. And then you also need all of the luxury bats that you paid up for to significantly beat all of the cheaper bats that people stack to fit in Sale. So you just are asking for a lot of unlikely events to work out in your favor. I think it's a much easier path to winning to just assume the field's going to have less Sale than they should and take the free square.
All right, I think I agree with that. And then DK's pricing is just broken because you look at some of these Rangers bats, there's not even cheap ones you could maybe leverage a super chalky pitcher with. Pence at 5K, Andrews 4,600, Mazzara lefty, but I mean he's 4K, and then Chu leading off for 4,800, or DeShields. Is there anyone that sticks out to you as possible leverage off of a really chalky Sale?
No.
All right, Mike Minor 9,400 going into Boston here. Is he someone you're looking at all? I'm guessing not.
No, Lofty and I talked about it on the podcast. It feels like every single start this year, he's had a tough matchup or been in Texas. But I think he's a good pitcher. It's just I've barely been rostering the guy, and I don't think I'll be getting there today because it is a tough matchup against Boston, and he is expensive, especially relative to other pitching options on the slate. I'd rather look to Boston bats a little bit. Not getting a ton of them as a full stack, but Mookie Betts should never ever be $4,500. JD may or may not be in the lineup, but he's less than 5K as well. Bogarts is affordable. You're getting a lot of power for cheap price tags from Boston. So whether it's one-offs or mini stacks or a full stack, I think that they are just a way that you get a very high ceiling in your lineup.
That's $15 on Yahoo. JD, just $20. There's a questionable tag next to JD's name on some other sites. We're not showing him in the projected lineup. Did he get hurt? Did I miss that?
He missed yesterday, and I think maybe a couple of games prior.
Okay. All right, that makes sense. So, yeah, the Red Sox just look way underpriced. That is an interesting point on Minor. I mean, I guess when you pitch half your games in Texas, and it's the only warm game for the first couple months of the season, and you're seeing these elevated implied totals against him just because of the weather, I guess that's why, you're seeing... I feel like I never play Minor. Whereas last year I played him a bunch because he was 6 and 7K all the time. But now he's priced.
Exactly.
Now he's priced kind of what he should be, but I still don't think I can go to him here in Boston, even with decent weather. There are some weather concerns, as we said earlier, but yeah, it's basically going to be all Red Sox bats. And then moving on, no one above 4,700 in the Red Sox projected lineup if JD's in there. If JD's out, no one above 4,500. So you're probably going to get a pretty chalky Boston stack looking at the landscape of the slate. Next game, Oakland and Tampa Bay. We have, let's see, 3.6 implied total for the A's, 5 flat for the Rays right now. Tanner Anderson going up against Charlie Morton. Do we have a opener situation here for Oakland? I didn't see if they announced who's coming in.
I'm not sure what they're doing. I'm trying to pull up Anderson's minor league stuff. I know he was starting at AAA this year, so I'm trying to get those game logs up. His most recent, so he pitched June 4th. He threw 74 pitches. May 29th, he threw 86. May 24th, he threw 90. He threw 90 the start before that as well. So I think it's just Tanner Anderson starting.
Oh, he's fully stretched out. I just assumed he was an opener, and they hadn't announced a long reliever. But
yeah, no, I think it's him.
Wow. Okay. Have you looked at him at all? Is he decent? Like, can you play him for 4K? No, he's bad.
I mean, you can play him for 4K, but he's not decent. At AAA this season, he has 11 appearances, 10 starts. He's thrown 54 innings. He has struck out 14.5% of hitters while walking 10.2%. He's allowed 2.3 home runs per 9, which, granted, that's in the PCL, but that's still not very good. He has a 7.27 FIP, 5.95 xFIP. He's not particularly good. Steamer projects him for 5.5 strikeouts per 9, 3.7 walks per 9. He's $4,000. That I'd consider myself at $4,000, but that's the extent of any reason to like Tanner Anderson.
You mentioned the walk rate, and I think you said something on the deeper dive the other day that I thought was interesting that I hadn't really thought about. When a guy struggles with command in the minors, that's really alarming to you, right?
Yeah, just because in general hitters in the minors have worse plate discipline than hitters in the majors. That's one of the reasons that those guys don't stick in the majors. And so a lot of times you'll see, I mean, it makes sense, strikeout percentage is going to go down normally and walk percentage will go up as you're facing better hitters. But when you're walking, a ton of guys in the minor leagues, it doesn't really bode well for, it's not a number that you expect to get better as you're facing better hitters. And to be fair, in AAA last season, in 61 innings, his walk percentage was 6%. It was 6% at AA. So this is the first year that he's really, really struggled with it. But it's certainly not good to see, especially when you're not talking about a guy that has ever gotten strikeouts either.
Yeah. All right, so this guy is looking like he's going to be pretty bad. But he is a 4K pitcher. We've played worse guys than this, probably.
Yeah, or just as bad.
Yeah. What about, so are you looking, like, how much would you be comfortable playing a guy like Anderson right now? I don't even know if we have him projected for ownership at this point, but do you see him being chalky? And if he is chalky, is that just kind of an avoid for you?
No, I don't think he'll be chalky. Because of the pricing on the slate, again, like, he's unnecessary for one, because you can do whatever you want with Sale plus Wacha or whoever. It would be different if, the mid-range of pitching was all expensive. It would be, okay, cool, I can spend 60 or 15K a pitcher and, just suck it up, hope this guy gets me like 12 points. But you're not gaining a whole lot with that $2,000 because, you're going from like an average spend on your bats of like 4,300 to like 4,500 or whatever. Like, who cares? So I don't think he'll be popular. The Rays have a 5 implied run total. I have him capped at like 12% in my initial stuff. He's someone who I expect would get weeded out once I start ranking lineups too. So yeah, I don't think I'll get to much Anderson. I'd much rather get to some of these Rays bats because I don't think he's good.
Yeah, which Rays bats you liking?
Yeah, so I mean, Austin Meadows, I assume, will be back in the lineup. He's expensive, especially when you compare him to guys like Mookie Betts and Bryce Harper for $1,000 less. But he's been one of the best hitters in the American League this year. You have power with Pham. You have power with Brandon Lau. I mean, it's a lineup that has strikeouts, but they have a ton of power. And you're taking a pitcher in Tanner Anderson who doesn't strike guys out. That's normally a spot where I like getting to the bats. The one thing that's worth pointing out is he is an extreme ground ball pitcher. Like 54.8% ground balls at AAA this year, 62.2% last season. 61% at Double A in 2017, tons and tons and tons of ground balls. So that's not ideal for hitters. But I still think that some of these power guys are pretty appealing.
All right, yeah, that's good to point out for sure. All right, there was someone in chat that said they would not play you at 4K. What do you think about that?
That's a mistake. I mean, just look at how much trouble guys have when middle infielders come in to pitch and they're throwing like 70 miles an hour.
Chris Davis, yeah.
I mean, I could give a good 2 to 3 innings before they figured out what the hell was going on.
Oh, 2 to 3 innings. Wow. Okay. So if you throw in a couple strikeouts there, you're approaching double-digit DK points. So
yeah, I'd be a great value.
Yeah. Oh, a great value. Wow.
Great value.
All right. Wow. Maybe Josh can run a simulation on this. Take your high school stats and see how often you reach your target score at 4K. So Josh, if you're watching this, get on that. What about Morton on the other side for 9,900? Kind of a guy he's priced appropriately, but you've got Chris Sale on the slate. You've got some other guys that are just way too cheap. He's striking out 27% of righties, 33% of lefties, and you're going up against an Oakland team that is striking out. Let's see, they're actually closer to the bottom of the league versus righties, 21.1%. But is Morton someone you think you're going to get to at all today?
I don't think I'll get much. I got 20% in my initial crunch, but I fully expect him to be someone who gets weeded out as I get more Chris Sale lineups in once I start ranking them. Because I'm looking at my Morton lineups, and it's not a lot of like Morton plus Sale. It's just because I had Sale capped at 42%. So Morton's going to pick up ownership in some other lineups. But once I start figuring out which lineups I think are my best, it's going to just be Chris Sale and Chris Sale and Chris Sale, and Morton's kind of going to be getting kicked out. He has better strikeout stuff against lefties. You're facing a right-handed heavy lineup. Not that he gets hit hard by righties. He's still a good pitcher, but it's not an ideal strikeout matchup from that standpoint. Oakland, surprisingly, but we're in June now, doesn't strike out a lot against right-handed pitching, so that's not working in his favor either. And Chris Sale's not that much more expensive. It's just very unlikely that I get to a lot of Morton.
Yeah. Right now, 10% compared to almost 40 for Sale. I still don't think I could get to Morton with much regularity here. That being said, these Oakland bats, is there a handedness you like to target against Morton at all? Or are you just looking for the blow-up start if you're going with Oakland bats?
Yeah, I mean, if you're going Oakland bats, you're just hoping that he blows up. I'd prefer righties just because he strikes out 33% of lefties compared to 27% of righties. But he's just been really good against both sides, doesn't give up power. So,
all right. I like it. What, man, Chris Davis at 3,100? Is that correct?
I just saw that. Wow.
I thought I was on FanDuel pricing.
Yeah.
Whoa.
I mean, you can play Davis and Olsen, and I mean, as one-offs, I guess it's fine, just because he doesn't give up power. But when you just talk about upside for a hitter, regardless of matchup, there's no 3K hitters that have close to 300 ISO.
That's wild. Piscotty 3,100 as well. Yeah. Man, these guys are just dirt cheap.
I'm looking now to see in my crunches if I got Oakland guys. So I mean, I still really didn't. Out of 500 lineups, Chris Davis ended up in 16 of them running 5-2 stacks.
Okay. He's 15% owned right now, so he's going to be a guy that's going to pop in optimizers, I would imagine, on most projection systems. But it's just not a great matchup for him. So if he all of a sudden becomes one of the chalkier hitters on the slate, I think I'm okay going pretty heavily underweight on him.
Yeah. And I mean, when just, talking about cash outfielders, obviously I haven't tried to build a cash lineup, but Betts and Harper would be the first two that I put in there at their prices. Davis certainly could be the third.
Okay. I like it. All right. Before we move on, Josh says that he ran the numbers. He reaches target percentage 0% of the time for you. He ran those numbers a little bit too quick. I don't know if I believe that he actually ran numbers. I think he might get a 5-10% target score percentage there.
Yeah, he never reached out for my high school stats, so those numbers are invalid.
40% K percentage, I'm assuming?
Yeah.
Of course. All right, let's go to the Pirates and the Braves. We've got Joe Musgrove going up against Kevin Gausman in the battle of the crazy cheap pitchers on DraftKings. 4.4 implied total for the Pirates. Looks like 5.3 for the Braves. Do you prefer one guy to the other? Are these guys both players you're going to get to on DraftKings?
Yeah, definitely getting to both of them. They are guys that I'll play over Wacha in tournaments because they're just better pitchers. Not as good of a matchup for either of them, obviously. But Musgrove strikeouts haven't been there this year, which sucks. Like, he struck out 18.8%, not walking a lot of guys, but kind of just a decent pitcher that shouldn't be, $5,200 or whatever he is. 5,200. Doesn't give up a lot of power. 149 expected ISO to lefties, 157 to righties. It's not a good strikeout matchup, but he's just he's even cheaper than Wacha. So, he's fine. And then Gausman, more interested in, just because Pittsburgh isn't as good an offense as the Braves are, but also Gausman struck out nearly 27% of lefties this year. And while the Pirates as a whole don't have a lot of strikeouts, in their lineup, they do probably have 4 lefties in the top 6, with, I'm assuming, Reynolds, Bell, Colin Moran, and Gregory Polanco. You'll probably have Adam Frazier in there somewhere also, and then you get the pitcher. So there's probably 5 lefties plus a pitcher for Gausman. I think that at his price tag, that he's got a pretty decent chance of exceeding his salary.
The Gausman striking out more lefties than righties is not a blip on the radar, correct? Like, he's done that the past couple of years. I can't remember which pitch he throws that gets lefties out, but is that?
Yeah, he's always been. So the strikeout numbers over in previous years haven't been as extreme. He's basically struck out like 20 to 21%, like, against both sides, but he has always been more comfortable throwing his splitter, which is his best pitch, to lefties than righties. The Braves have done a better job of getting him to throw it to righties, and I actually expect those strikeout numbers against righties to improve going forward. But he's always just been better at limiting lefties because of that pitch.
Okay. All right. Gausman is so bad, but that FanDuel price is wild. I don't think Gausman's bad. These guys are both really cheap on Yahoo as well. Musgrove, 37. Gausman, just $31. Not great strikeout matchups for either side, but they're super cheap pitchers that are fully stretched out on a Chris Sale slate. So, with Coors as well. So, I don't know. They're just guys I'm going to get to. I'm not crazy about either one of them, but they're just guys I'm going to get to.
I mean, if you look at some more of Gausman's numbers, he's pretty average. Like, he has a 6.15 ERA this year, but his PCRA is 4.08. And again, that's similar to xFIP, except it factors in actual batted ball data instead of league average. He's only allowed a 5.5% barrels per batted ball event percentage, which is good. Not getting hit hard when they do put the ball in play. He's just a pretty average pitcher that is too cheap.
Did you say 6 ERA?
Yeah.
That's like a number that announcers to start off the game would throw up on the graphic, and they would be suggesting that this guy is awful and they should get him out of the rotation type of thing.
Yeah, yep. 6.15 ERA, 4.54 xFIP, 4.08 PCRA,
okay.
4.5 SIERA.
So he's getting quite a bit of bad luck.
Yeah, basically the stats that use normalized league average data are saying that he's getting unlucky, and then the stats that do basically the same thing but use factor in that he's not letting hitters barrel balls, say that he's really getting unlucky.
Nice. All right, what about hitters on either side here?
The Braves are kind of appealing. They're reasonably priced. It's a park downgrade for Musgrove. He doesn't strike guys out. I mean, if you wanted to get some Acuna or some Freeman or some Donaldson in there, I think it's fine. But I don't think I got to them as a top stack or anything.
I think I'm going to get to a lot of Freeman at 5,400. He's a guy kind of as a one-off, especially if Musgrove emerges as a chalkier option. Just obviously massive power. I don't think there's real analysis that's needed to talk about playing Freddie Freeman. And then Donaldson and Acuna both are reasonably priced as well.
Yeah, looking through my initial crunches, it doesn't look like I had anything from this game hitter-wise as a priority.
Okay. All right, let's move it on to the next game. Nats and White Sox. We've got a couple more after this. Anibal Sanchez going up against Odorizmer Despaigne, I believe is how you pronounce his name. He does not have a price right now on DraftKings. Looking over on Yahoo, he doesn't have a price listed for him either. I don't know if that's just a name thing that they can't recognize his name or what's going on there. But
Nah, he's just not in the player pool. He wasn't on the White Sox until like 24 hours ago.
Oh, okay. Well, that's why he's not in the player pool then. 5.9 implied total for the Nats. Looks like 4.7 for the White Sox. You can't play Despaigne, but you could surely target some bats against him. I'm assuming you're going to be of that mindset.
Yeah, not a particularly imposing pitcher. Doesn't get strikeouts. When he's on, he'll get some ground balls and do some weak contact. But he's just kind of been a guy who bounces around year to year and makes a handful of starts, and then that team releases him and he goes to another team and does the same thing. He struck out 18.6% of hitters last year. He struck out 12.2% with the Marlins in 2017. He's just a guy that is there to hopefully pick up a few innings while the White Sox are dealing with rotation injuries. The Nats are fine. They're still not a top stack for me just because there are so many good hitting spots. Oh, sorry, they are a top stack for me. I take that back. So I got a bunch of Juan Soto, got a lot of Turner, got a lot of Rendon, a lot of Dozier. I got to a lot of Nats in my initial crunch.
I really like the look of the Nats just right now, looking at the landscape of the slate, just because they are priced appropriately for having a 6 implied total. They're priced similar to the Rockies, and I think they might even be priced higher than the Cubs in total, just eyeballing, because you've got Rendon 56, Soto 51, Kendrick 52, and Turner 5K, but even their secondary pieces, Matt Adams 42, Suzuki 41, Dozier 41, batting 8th or 9th, and then Robles same thing, 41. So it's just going to be tough to fit them in, which is what you like when they have a massive total like this. So I think they're going to come in a little bit undervalued on a Coors slate. They might not pop in optimizers as much as maybe they should. So that's why the lineup ranking system, which we talk so much about, is going to help us out here, I think, to get to some more Nats. What about Sanchez at 8,100 going up against the White Sox? They're striking out almost 25% versus right-handed pitchers this season. Is he a guy that you're going to target here?
Not expecting to. Just kind of the same thing I said about Tanaka, where it's hard to get to that price range. But then between the two of them, I trust Tanaka more than I trust Sanchez. He's been pretty decent, especially against righties. But there are just a lot of guys that, from an upside standpoint, are clearly underpriced. And then you have Sanchez priced pretty much where he should be. So that keeps him out of a lot of lineups for me.
Yeah. Moncada and Yonder Alonso, those are two guys that I'm really looking at. And then Eloy Jimenez at 3,300 is a guy that always comes up for me when I use the projections on the site. So he's probably going to be someone I get to at 3,300. Are you looking at White Sox stacks here or any one-offs you're targeting?
Yeah, the guys you said. I got the White Sox as between my 5th and 10th highest owned stack in Cruncher right now. Nice. That's something that I think I probably end up a little bit lower too, because I know that, or I believe that Sanchez has made some improvements over the last year plus. And I know that my projections are factoring in data from when he was not as good. So normally he's a pitcher where I, make some small adjustments to the hitters against him. But the price tags here are really, really affordable. Like you said, Moncada is a good hitter with power. Jimenez is just always underpriced for the amount of power that he has. He started out slowly this year, but the guy's got an insane power. So, I think that the White Sox they're okay. The price tags are really cheap. Sanchez still isn't a lights out pitcher. The Nats don't have a single guy in their bullpen that is competent. So it's a decent spot.
All right. So it looks like we're liking hitters in this game. Looks like there could be some wind blowing out 70 plus degrees in Chicago. So pretty nice hitting environment, all things considered. Going over to the best hitting environment on the slate, we've got the Cubs and the Rockies. Yu Darvish and German Marquez on the mound here. 5.3 implied total for the Cubs, 5.9 for the Rockies. Let's talk about pitching first. Are you targeting either one of these guys? You said you don't like Anibal Sanchez. You're probably not getting to that range, but are you making any exceptions for German Marquez at under 9K?
I was getting similar exposure to Marquez as I was to Tanaka. I think he's a good pitcher. I think that he's a little better than that price tag. But the game is in Coors. He's facing a Cubs team that is a good offense, and the Cubs probably will have 3 lefties in the top 5, probably 4 in their lineup in general. And Marquez's strikeout numbers against lefties, going back to last year, are much worse than they are against righties. So that's not ideal either. I think that where I get to Marquez the most, probably, and the same for Tanaka, probably is with Colorado stacks, just because they are pretty expensive for the most part, and so it gets tough to get Sale plus the Colorado guys you want. Marquez does still give you a nice ceiling at a reduced price tag, so I think that a large percentage of my non-Sale lineups will be Rocky stacks, and that's where guys like Marquez become more appealing.
Are you stacking more against Darvish because he's Darvish and he's got walk issues, or is it just, I guess, why are you crazy about the Rocky stack?
Just because, I think it's obviously a high upside spot. I have a lot of interest in Darvish too, so I'm playing both sides of this. But Darvish has a high walk percentage. He gives up home runs. The game is in Coors. There's, it's still the Rockies in Coors against a flawed pitcher in Darvish.
Dude, he has walked at least 3 hitters in all but 3 of his starts so far this season. Like, it's looking like 12 or 13 starts he's made. Like, my God. Like, up to 7, 6, he's got a 5 in there, a bunch of 4s. That's just a recipe for disaster in Coors. How does his stuff play in Coors? Do you know?
Basically fastball slider, so should be fine.
Yeah.
I'm double checking that, but going from memory. Yeah, fastball slider.
Fastball slider. All right, yeah. So he could. The environment isn't going to affect his pitches all that much. It's looking like, but still 6 implied total for the Rockies. They're priced up. They're priced appropriately. I am going to have a ton of Rockies, I'm sure, like you, in the non-sale lineups. That's going to make up the majority of my hitting in the non-sale lineups. You mentioned Marquez. I think I'm going to play a good amount of Marquez as well. Like, I would get to him over Anibal Sanchez, even though it's not as good of a strikeout matchup. I just think Marquez is a really, really good pitcher. And if he's going to be at 10% ownership, I like that. If I can't get up to Sale or in lineups with Sale, if I'm going to one of these cheaper stacks. Which Cubs bats are you targeting against Marquez? You mentioned he's got some issues with some lefty power. What about Carlos Gonzalez at 3K buying the resurgence?
No, but he's a 3K hitter, probably in the middle of the lineup in Coors Field, so it's not the end of the world. Obviously the top of the order here with Schwarber, Chris Bryant, Rizzo, Baez, like those guys all give you a lot of power. I'm not getting to the Cubs as much as I'm getting to the Rockies because I do have more respect for Marquez as a pitcher than I do Darvish, but it's still the visiting team in Coors, and they probably will be lower owned than the Rockies, I would assume. So they're still like my, I think, 3rd or 4th stack.
Arenado, 4 for 10 with the home run lifetime versus Darvish. What does that do for you?
Absolutely nothing. Yeah.
I think I agree with you. Arenado's going to hit a lot of pitchers really well. I don't know if that's good BVP or bad. I don't know. I never know because, what if a guy's 2 for 20 with 2 home runs? Like, what do you do then? Or 3 for 15 with 3 homers? Like,
yeah, I still think Arenado is a really good play, and I still think at his price point, Darvish, who has the 4th highest strikeout percentage on the slate, is a good play.
Yep, couldn't agree more. All right, so that one's gonna have a lot of exposure, I'm sure. Looking at where the hitters are ranking, Schwarber's way up there as one of the chalkier options on the slate. Same thing with Chris Bryant. I'm not seeing a ton of Rockies up there on our early ownership projections on DraftKings specifically. The highest guy is Trevor Story at 12%, almost 6K Trevor Story at 12%. So maybe the Rockies come in a little bit undervalued compared to their implied total, compared to their chance of being the top stack right now.
That would be nice. If I had nothing but Chris Sale and or Rockies lineups tonight, I'd be perfectly fine.
Yeah, just go like 75% Sale, 80% Sale, maybe sneak in some Rockies with Sale. If you go down to Musgrove, I'm assuming that might be possible.
Tanner Anderson at the can definitely get it done
for sure, or maybe even play a reliever if that guy's that bad.
Yeah.
All right, let's go to the.
It does get pretty tough, so I'm trying to just like quickly build out a Sale Rocky stack. It gets pretty tough on DraftKings. Like if I get McMahon, Arenado, Story, Blackman, Dahl. Now, obviously, you can use like Tony Walters or something. He's cheap. But if I go with those guys plus Sale plus Anderson, it still only leaves me $2,800 for my last 3 one-offs.
Here's one. Oh wait, no, you can't quite do this. So we had Tapia in. You're gonna have to you're probably gonna have to take out one of Dahl, Story, Arenado, or Murphy, and just basically punt one of those. But you could probably do like a 4-4 with Miami, I would guess.
Yeah. And I mean, taking out one of the outfielders, even though like Blackman and Dahl are guys that you really, really want in there, from a roster construction standpoint, it's okay. You're not sacrificing a lot of upside if you're getting a one-off from the outfield, because like you can take out Charlie Blackman to save some money and you just put in Mookie Betts or Bryce Harper, and it's not like the ceiling on them is lower than on Blackman.
Yeah. So I just made one right now. Sale, our buddy Tanner Anderson, 3-man Miami with Cooper, Castro, Granderson, then Dahl, Tapia, Story, Arenado, and Tyler Flowers at catcher. No salary remaining. So it is possible, but it's probably going to be more in the 4-man context.
Yeah.
All right, let's go to the Dodgers and the Angels. We have Hyunjin Ryu going up against Griffin Canning. 10-4 for Ryu, 8-4 for Canning, 5.1 implied total for the Dodgers, 4.0 for the Angels. This is a game I don't see myself having a lot of exposure to outside of the obvious Mike Trout and Shohei Ohtani, who is for the 30th day in a row. He is underpriced at under 4K on DraftKings, even lefty. But is there anything you see getting too heavily here?
I was kind of surprised how much Dodgers I got in my initial crunch. Again, it's a spot where I think that my baseline projections tend to value Canning a bit lower than I do. But at the same time, I don't mind that. I mean, I don't expect the Dodgers to get much ownership because of this slate. It's not a bad park for left-handed power. You have a ton of it in the Dodgers lineup. Canning has struck out about 30% of lefties this year. He's been really, really good. But you are still talking about like a 22, 23-year-old rookie pitcher going against one of the best offenses in baseball. So I don't mind that in tournaments. With Trout, he's fine. It's a tough matchup against Ryu, but it's still Mike Trout. The issue there is that there are so many cheap outfielders that are really, really good that it'll be tough, I think, to get to a lot of Trout. Ryu, I'm not really interested on DraftKings. Yahoo and FanDuel, I think you can make a little bit better case, because on Yahoo, he saves you $7 off of Chris Sale. On FanDuel, where you don't have the luxury of taking a cheap SP2 to, offset some of the spending on Sale, he saves you like $1,100. It's not a good strikeout matchup. He's not an elite strikeout pitcher, but he's a really good, actual pitcher. He doesn't walk guys, doesn't put extra guys on base. I don't think I get a lot on any site, but if I were going there, it would be Yahoo or FanDuel.
Yeah, I'm looking at it on Yahoo. I mean, yeah, he does save you $7 off of Sale, but like I think I could just make that up with one or maybe even two hitters. Like we like the White Sox, Garcia $9, McCann $12, Alonso $7, Dedman, Jimenez is $10. So I don't even know if I would get to Ryu on Yahoo, like if I'm playing that rake-free tournament, which you guys should still get into, by the way. It looks like 500 spots, give or take. Promo code AWESOMO gets you up to $30 of Yahoo Sports rewards points, which you can use as cash on the site. But anyways, it's just such a rough strikeout matchup. Anytime a pitcher is going up against the Angels, I'm kind of turned off, unless it's like a 4 or 5 game slate where you're just looking for raw points. But I agree on DraftKings. Like I don't know if he's going to come up in literally one lineup if I crunch out 600, just because he's not going to project as a good value. As a raw point play, and you just got Chris Sale sitting there for $500 more.
Yep.
So you like the Dodgers stack? I'm a little bit surprised at that. You like the full stack against Canning here? Is there something you're seeing in Canning, or is it more just these guys are priced down kind of thing?
Yeah, I think it's more just the price tags on the Dodgers and how good they are. It also probably has to do with I didn't eliminate guys that might not be in the lineup. So it's got some like really, really good value plays from the Dodgers that might not even be in there, kind of dragging up their stack exposure. It's not a team where I expected to get as much of them as I did. So I'm thinking that's probably a reason. And then also I know that my baseline stuff just kind of with most like rookie pitchers has them a little bit lower than they probably should, or than I like. So, yeah, that's probably why they're in there now. I do think Canning's good. I mean, he's struck out 30.1% of lefties. He's a lot of 263 expected WOBA. He's been pretty legitimately good or since coming up.
Yeah. I was looking at Canning. I don't think I can get to playing him at 8,400. Just like I'm just taking the obvious pitcher, like the obvious value at pitcher today. Like even Marquez, I have way above Canning right now for $300 more. So there's enough value bats on the slate because of the awful job DraftKings did of pricing this, where I just don't see the need to get to him against the Dodgers, who are just a really, really awesome offense. All right, I think that's really all we've got on that game, unless you want to mention anything or anything else on the slate before we get out of here.
No, I think I'm good.
All right, guys, thanks for joining us. Use the promo code OSMO to sign up and get the up to $30 of Yahoo Sports rewards points. They're running a rig-free tournament. You should go support that. That should be your first stop every morning, is checking to see if they have this rig-free tournament on Yahoo. $600 to first place. It's $30 to max enter. $3 entry fee. You can put in one lineup. You can put in two lineups, but no more than 10. So you're not going to have to compete against the Sharks. And still pretty good money at the top prize, and flatter payout structure than you're seeing across a lot of the other different sites. So there's just there's no reason not to do it. And when you do, use that promo code AWESOMO. Thanks for joining us, guys. We will be back. Adam will be back on the deeper dive. You guys are starting at 5 Eastern today?
Yeah.
Right? 5 Eastern today with the boss, Alex Osmo Baker, and then, of course, Lofty will be on it. And then I think it's Josh and I tonight for Live Before Lock. So someone was asking if Josh was going to be on the show. He will be on Live Before Lock with me later. Real quick, Adam, top stacks we're getting a request for. At this point, I know it's early.
Yeah, Washington, Colorado, Yankees, Tampa, I guess.
Okay. Yeah, I was hoping you were going to put in Tampa. I like Tampa quite a bit. The Phillies are another one I think we should throw in there against Taylor Clark. But I'm pretty sure I agree with all those other ones. Maybe the Braves against Musgrove, depending on where Musgrove stands as we get closer to lock. But we'll talk more about that. Check out all the stuff on the site, spotlight pitchers and hitters from Josh and EMAC. Lofty will have the deeper dive out at around 3 Eastern, 3 to 4 Eastern, somewhere in there. So be sure to check that out if you are a premium member. And thanks for joining us, guys. Good luck.